Tasmania is an isolated island located to the south of Australia. Tasmania is one of the most biodiverse areas in the world. It has many regions, from mountainous to flatlands to massive forests such as eucalypt and temperate rainforests. Many of the animals and plants that live on Tasmania are endemic, meaning that they are not found anywhere else in the world. Nearly half of the invertebrates found on Tasmania are not found anywhere else. The ecosystem is delicate, and any species disappearing can be catastrophic for Tasmania. The island is home to some of the oldest trees. Some can be tracked back to 60 million years ago, back when Tasmania was a part of Antarctica. These forests house and provide food for many animals of Tasmania. Humans also rely on these forests. The forests are good for logging, however, they also help to reduce carbon emissions. The trees absorb in the carbon and hold on to it. Logging and fires release the carbon. Tasmania is an ecotourism hotspot, and many of the areas in Tasmania are protected. Tasmania attracts roughly twice the Australian national average for nature-based tourists, and brings a lot of money into local businesses and economy for the island. Tasmanian tourism brings in roughly 1.3 billion in Australian dollars a year and sees over 800,000 visitors.
Tasmanian. Here it is. A strong, murderous beast. Jaws as powerful as a steel trap. Has ravenous appetite. Eats tigers, lions, elephants, buffaloes, donkeys, giraffes, octopuses, rhinoceroses, mooses, ducks.
Rabbits.
Rabbits? It doesn't say rabbits here. What's up, Doc?
The Tasmanian devil is the world's largest carnivorous marsupial, and they keep, in general, the bird and snake's population leveled. They also often feed on dead carcasses. Today, there are approximately 25,000 Tasmanian devils left. Marine life in Tasmania flourishes and is one of the most biodiverse in the world. Much of the marine life is endemic to Tasmania. However, whales, penguins, and great white sharks are common in the waters of Tasmania. The island is known for its kelp forests and seagrass meadows. The kelp forests are essential for fish, invertebrates, and other algae. The fish use the forests for nursery and protection, while predators keep the population in balance and feed on them.
Tasmanian ecology began to change with the arrival of European settlers. Settlers introduced invasive species to the island, have reduced the amount of habitat available to endemic wildlife, and have hunted some species into extinction. The famous thylacine or Tasmanian tiger was hunted to death by settlers who saw them as a threat to their livestock. Other factors that contributed to their extinction was habitat destruction and competition with feral dogs that Europeans introduced. A species that faces the threat of extinction today is the Tasmanian devil. In the 1990s, the Tasmanian devil population was roughly 150,000 individuals and has dropped 60% since then. Perhaps the largest major threat to Tasmanian ecology is the European red fox. Foxes have led to the extinction of many animals on mainland Australia, and the Tasmanian government is doing everything they can to eliminate foxes on the island. Foxes were introduced several times for the purposes of sport hunting when settlers arrived, most of which were killed shortly after release. The Tasmanian government set out to eradicate foxes in Tasmania and seemingly succeeded by 2011, but no evidence of foxes were found since then.
Disease is a large threat to Tasmanian ecosystems. Their symbolic Tasmanian devil population has declined by the devil facial tumor disease from the mid-1990s to 27% by 2004, 41% by 2006, 53% by 2007, and 64% by 2008. Another disease is the chytrid fungus, which can cause 100% mortality rate in frog populations. 100%? Tasmania hosts 11 species of frogs, and 3 are only found in Tasmania. This disease was most likely introduced from international frog trading, most likely from Africa. Frogs are an important secondary consumer in many food webs, and act as the best biological pest controller. Fire is a major threat to Tasmanian ecosystems. There have been over 45 different fires, some burning uncontrollably due to dry lightning strikes in early 2016. These fires pose huge threats as they destroy all life in their path. Areas such as ancient conifers, deciduous beech, cushion plants, alpine vegetation, and parts of the rainforest have all been victims. These rich biodiverse areas can take hundreds or thousands of years to fully recover. A more known threat in Tasmania is roadkill. There are more deaths to wildlife in Tasmanian roads per kilometer than anywhere else in the world. On average, 32 animals are killed every hour, which is almost 300,000 per year. When an animal is hit, not only will the animal more than likely die, but there are other variables affected as well. For example, the animal may have been a mother and can no longer tend to its young. It may have been a keystone species, like the great Mr. Stockton taught us, and can no longer contribute to its environment.
Conservation of the Tasmanian rainforest can be focused on a few key elements: management of invasive species, preventing bushfires, and primary funding. The Government of Australia already has a few programs implemented that contribute to many of these issues. There are ads telling residents to report sightings of the European red fox so the government can get a jump on them. And then they have the FCF, a program for private owners of forested areas to contribute to the protection of the rainforests for government management of their land, and a small percentage of money made from environmental contributions. Bushfires, however, are a whole different story. Since the majority and the largest bushfires were caused by dry lightning storms, there isn't much in the ways of prevention. You can ask the last guy who tried to mess with lightning. But more primary funding would allow for larger staff, which means better on-call response and minimize damage. So the best way to deal with this? More money. More money means more people, means better programs, means better management. And the best source of this money? You. Go for a trip, see what Tasmania has to offer, take in the culture, and see what you can do to help.